Hello, welcome back to my Facebook page and my YouTube channel, The Anxiety Princess, where we're talking about everything and anything that has to do with mental illness. Basically, tapping into our emotions in order to determine what could potentially be causing our mental health related illnesses. If you had joined us in the last 3 weeks I've been away, I'd like to say welcome. I really do hope that this is a very safe space, and I really do hope that I can equip you with the tools that you need in order to incorporate mental illness in your day. For those who don't know, my name is Tumeka Mulitsane Hankeman, and welcome to the Anxiety Princess. So, I've been away for 3 weeks, of which 2 of that 3 weeks I had flu. Guys, this flu is very serious. It's intense, and I just hope you guys are taking care of yourself and staying indoors if you're sick in order to protect other people outside. And let me just say, do a disclaimer. Like, I don't know how this goes anymore. Let me do a disclaimer. I'm not a doctor, psychologist, or psychiatrist, or anybody who has been trained to deal with mental illness. I'm purely someone who was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder with severe panic attacks in March of 2019. I've been living my truth. I've been in a path of acceptance, a path of healing. I do rely on antidepressants to actually suppress panic attacks. However, they only suppress. I still have them. I'm still on a full-on journey. I don't know when the switch is gonna go off, but hey, we pray and we hope that one day I'll wake up and I'll be like, I don't need this pill. But in the meantime, you're here with me, and I'm assuming you're here because you either are also suffering or you know somebody who has been suffering, and you are basically a support structure for that person. Please do not let this channel be a substitute for anything that you have to do on your part. You still need to go for therapy with a trained professional. You still need to go to see a doctor to rule out anything that is medically wrong with you. And you just utilize this channel as another tip off, like another edition. But please do not solely rely on the information that I give you. Cool. So by the time I release this video, I would have released a video explaining what I am doing with Panda. I really hope you guys will take it in, accept it, and just try and do it. Everything that I do is for the best of this channel, for me and you guys as well, and I wouldn't throw us into the deep end of something that I believe is not aligned to our vision, is not aligned to our mission. So please watch that video and download the app and get other help, Cool. So I'm gonna be this video I shot a couple of weeks ago, but my energy levels were just super low, and I just thought, you know what, let me not upload it, and then I said I will reshoot it again. So what we're talking about today is, should you disclose to your employer that you are suffering from mental illness, right? Before I even get into it, I just want to say that there is no law in South Africa that says it's a requirement for you to disclose to your employer. As you all know, I'm very vocal and very straightforward about the fact that I do suffer from anxiety. It was not always the case with my first employer. It took me a couple of months when I had the panic attack. It took me a couple of months to come to them and to tell them, listen, this is what's happening to me. And then the employer after that, I think I was very open with that, and my current employer, I was very open with that. So it's each to their own, and when you are ready, you can share. But if you are not ready, there is no one who's going to force you to do it. So in this video, I'll touch on why are people coming with a perception of not disclosing. Why do I think people don't disclose, or why didn't I disclose immediately? And then I will also touch on the fact that what it means after you have disclosed, like what doors could it open when you disclose. Again, guys, I don't want you after watching this video and say, I'm gonna go disclose. You need to be ready for that step and the things that come with actually disclosing, because it's not all roses and amazing. It is not. Okay. So I have a big book here which I've jotted down the points that I want to talk about so that I don't forget. So please bear with me if I look down. Cool. So let's touch on why do people not disclose to their employers? Firstly, it's judgment and stigma that comes with living with mental illness. And stigma comes from two elements, guys. The one element is people that have been provided the information about living with mental illness but still chooses to be ignorant to it. And then you get the bunch of people that just don't know about mental illness, and therefore the stigma just comes because they lack the education and the knowledge, right? And I think for the biggest part of my life before I was diagnosed, I was on the other side where it didn't bother me, therefore I didn't want to know about it. And but I don't think at any point I did impose stigma on people, but I was just like, it doesn't bother me, so like um I'm not affected, so why do I need to know about it? So people don't disclose because they're scared that they're going to be judged. You know, people will draw their own conclusion as to what it means for the person, that, you know, they're weak, they allow situations to happen to themselves, they could have prevented it, and if people are imposing the stigma, I think we've spoken about stigma so much on this channel that you need to sort of understand where they're coming from, but in no way let that be a determining factor of how comfortable you are with your mental illness, if you get me, right? Sorry, didn't realize my other phone wasn't loud. So people don't disclose because of stigma and judgment that is imposed by people that they work with and their employers. Guys, as much as we think sometimes employers they adhere to confidentiality, you walk around the passages and people are talking about you, about something you disclose in confidence to someone, and they're talking about it. That comes from employers, or whether you disclose to someone close to you at work, next thing people are talking about it. The people at work are not your friends. Let's start there. But just know that employers are bound by confidentiality. If you say, like, I'm disclosing in confidence and I'm disclosing so that you have the full story, they have no right to actually go and display that information to your peers, to your colleagues, or anybody. And that is actually a violation of confidentiality. That's the first thing. The second thing is, there's that mind when you're like, I want to disclose, but you're like, they're not going to understand. They are not going to understand. I think I was stuck in this position for a very long time, because at no point have I ever been in a situation where someone set me down and explained panic attacks, set me down and explain anxiety, set me down and basically explain how I felt on a day-to-day. So I would basically be narrating how I'm feeling, but even I don't understand how I'm feeling. That, I think anxiety is by far the one thing that I can't explain to people, because even I don't understand it. Do you get it? So now you're thinking, how am I going to sit someone down, my employer, and disclose this information without sounding like even I don't know what I'm talking about? Do you get it? So there's always that mind that says they're not gonna understand, therefore there's no point for me to tell them, because I don't know how to articulate myself right and explain what is going on with me. And that's perfectly normal. And just tell them, articulate your truth. That's all I'm saying. I just went and I said, listen, the past few months, this is how I've been feeling. I've been feeling very anxious. I'm scared of small things that I used to enjoy. I'm having panic attacks. These are the physical symptoms that I have. And then you leave them with that information, and what they do with it is like, if they're just as confused as you just tell them, and you're like, I'm confused. Like, I'm just giving you what I'm feeling. So don't think you need to get to a point where you understand and you think you can articulate it very well to another person so that they understand. There is an 80% chance that even if you know it off by heart as to what's happening to you, when you explain it to someone else, there's an 80% chance they're not going to understand what you're saying. And that's perfectly fine. Cool. The third thing that makes people not disclose is misjudgment. Like, there's this perception that when you suffer from mental illness, you're weak. All of a sudden, they don't trust you with your job. They don't trust you with the tasks that you're performing. And you sort of gather that, I'm not going to be given the hardest work because, basically, they're just not going to trust you with the important stuff. I always said that my work ethic will always speak for me, even before I tell you what I'm suffering from. So that when I tell you, you actually go back and be like, but this person is a superstar. Like, this girl is a superstar. Therefore, it doesn't in any way, shape, or form actually prevents them from excelling in things. And I think that was also my whole purpose of entering the Psycho Top 35 Under 35. It was just to give a glimpse of hope to someone that this thing is not a barrier. It hasn't been put there to stop us from excelling, to stop us from doing the impossible, to stop us from doing things that what normal people could do better. I'm just putting normal in inverted commas because I told you guys in my last video that no one is normal. But anyway, we're just scared that it's gonna affect the kind of work we're given and what we're trusted with. And in most situations, it's exactly like that. It's exactly like that. I remember a couple of weeks I was having a conversation with a girl who's currently doing accounting articles, and she was explaining how you are discriminated in being considered for important audits the minute you say I'm depressed, the minute you say I'm suffering from anxiety. I say, in the moments when you are feeling wonderful, excel and let your work ethic speak for you, so that when you are in a position where you are not performing, you are going through the most, that work ethic, they know that this person acts like works really hard. It's just a matter of that now they're going through something. But it's sad that unfortunately we always need to reassure our employers that in no way, shape, or form does this thing inhibit me. Instill the trust, of which you're not supposed to. I do it quite a bit, and I hate the fact that I do it because I'm not supposed to say my truth and validate myself in the same sentence. Do you get me? So it does happen, and sadly I'm working on it of just saying I suffer from anxiety and not say I suffer from anxiety, but in no way does it ever inhibit me, no way will it impact my work. I just don't want to do those disclaimers. I just need my work to speak for myself without me disclaiming, without me validating myself. Cool. Number 4, people don't want to disclose because it's generally perceived as a sign of weakness. That is the saddest truth. They think that you could have done so much more to prevent that switch that happened in your head to not happen. You're so weak because I dealt with a similar thing and I came out fine, You're so weak to allow things. You're so weak to be scared to go outside because you think something's going to happen, but there's no evidence. Yay! People talk out there. People will paint you as this weak person who has no control whatsoever of their own emotion. And guys, let me assure you now, mental illness is not a sign of being weak. It is not a sign of being weak. It's a chemical imbalance that has been triggered by a psychological event, and it just spirals out of control without you. Because I feel like for the first couple of months, I was just trying to listen to my body and everything that it was doing. Not for me to dig deep into the emotions as to how did we even get here. I was just amazed at all the new symptoms that were presented in my body. I was just like, what is going on? But in no shape or at no point was I like, let's dig emotionally. What has gone wrong emotionally? If you want to know what has gone wrong emotionally with me, go watch Emotional Baggage. It was my third video I released on this channel. So people will form their own opinions in terms of how weak you are, how you allowed things to get to you to a point where you couldn't control them. There's no such thing, guys. Trust me, we all wanna. I'm in control. I'm one of. I pride myself by being in control with most things in my life, and things that hurt me and things that didn't hurt me. I didn't see anxiety coming because at that point I thought my life was under control. And yet it happened. But in no way am I weak. That I can tell you now. I'm one of the strongest people that I know. And you are also one of the strongest people that you know. So don't let someone tell you you are weak, you could have prevented you. There's nothing you could have done to prevent what happened to you. I can tell you that for free. And then number 5, people don't disclose because they don't want to draw attention to themselves. You know, when you don't like the spotlight, I personally don't like the spotlight. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I know that's shocking that I don't like the spotlight, but I really do not like attention being on me. Therefore, you know, I never want to find myself in a position where I'm being made an example, where they say, look at Tumega, she's functioning, but she suffered from mental illness kind of thing, right? And you just don't want to draw attention to yourself. Like that days when I'm like, I'm not feeling well, you know, and you don't want to be that person that your employer is like, would be like, oh, to make not work today because she's not feeling okay, guys, mentally. Like, and then when you come back from work, people are looking at you like you're crazy. Something like that, you know. You just don't want to be made an example where the attention is all on you, where now, you know, people need to work on eggshells because to make us suffer from anxiety, so we mustn't upset her in any way. I don't like special treatment. Let's put it that way. And I think a lot of people that suffer from mental illness don't like attention, don't like special treatment. They just want you to treat them the same. So people are not going to disclose because they are scared all of a sudden they're going to be babied, all of a sudden they're going to be point of reference, all of a sudden you're going to go through and make exceptions for them. We don't want that. Treat us the same. Okay, and lastly, people don't disclose because purely of pride. How can I, me, Tumeka Moletsane, who was living overseas, about to get married, traveling countries I've never traveled before, how can you associate that person with mental illness? That was me. I was just like, I am not going to tell anybody. People must just see this beautiful, amazing picture of my life. Anything else, like, they're not privy to. I'm in control of this thing. The minute we start having that sort of mentality, guys, we just keep on enabling the stigma where people don't have the information, therefore they never bothered. Yo, my pride was just like, girl, you are not going to tell anybody. Miguel, you are not. Because you are staying overseas. Like, you are earning euros. You are taking care of your family like we wanted. Hey, you are doing everything you ever dreamed you will do. And now you're telling me you have anxiety. Girl, awukwazi kaloku. You cannot tell the people this information. My pride took over. And I think had I spoken sooner, I would have gotten resources sooner. But I lived through my mistake of having pride and just thinking that I needed to be in control of the narrative around us. You still are. By telling people, it doesn't mean that you all of a sudden you're losing control of your own narrative. It just means like you're sharing information because you're comfortable sharing that information, but it's still your story. It's still your story to tell. It's still your journey to walk, and nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can want to be in control of it. You determine how you control it, and you determine the narrative that you want out there in terms of you being sick, kind of thing. So I think for me, the pride was one of the biggest mistakes that I did because it was purely pride for me. I just couldn't associate mental illness with me. Do you get it? Cool. And then now I'm going to touch briefly on when you are ready. Now you're like, I'm ready to tell them. What does it mean? Like, what changes? What does it mean when now you're saying, okay, I'm disclosing? Why should you disclose, basically? But in no way am I forcing you now on Monday to go disclose. But I'm just saying this is what happens when you disclose. You disclose because mental illness can be a day-to-day interruption or disruption. They need to understand that. Okay, here's now a situation where you're sick. You wake up and your mental illness, your anxiety is out of control. You know that you're not going to be very productive at work. And it is part of being sick. It's sick leave, guys. You know, and it happened this month. It happens next month. Like, it's constantly happening quite a bit. And some days you need to switch off earlier because you have your therapist appointments. That's a disruption in a sense, in order for the business to actually produce what they need to produce. You know, maybe sometimes you're supposed to attend a very important meeting at 4, but at 3 you need to meet your psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever, and you can't make this important meeting. That's a disruption to other people. Let's not even sugarcoat it, right? But if they know that on a specific day, Tumeka is attending therapy is a priority for her well-being, then they understand. And they understand it because you're not hiding this information. You're telling them so that it's there in your diary. Nobody's booking anything after 4 at the specific day because I'm attending therapy. And guys, I'm going to say this, and no way it's a racial comment, but most of our employers, they of color, they're white people. They're white people. And in white culture, therapy is normal. It's normalized. Like, I think that's another thing for me that I'd be like, I'm blessed in that aspect that, you know, I work with people that understand this. I work with people that go for therapy, but they don't suffer mental illness, just as a mental check kind of thing. So it's important to disclose because you become sick sometimes. You need to attend things. I have to go and do my blood work and things like that to make sure I'm still okay. Doctor visit to discuss whether I'm still continuing with my meds. It's a disruption, guys. It's a disruption. Let's not run to it. Let's not run away from it or just sugarcoat it that it isn't. It is. And at least once they know, then they sort of understand. And they will piece the pieces together that this person makes up for a time here, this person does this and that. So it's very important to offer the information so that when it's a disruption, they at least understand and know why you're doing it. And most of our employers, they're very much in touch with mental side. Number two, you create an environment that's open and healthy for yourself. Yeah. I remember the first couple of months, I would sit on my desk and be so anxious that I just wanted to jump out of my seat. I would sit in a meeting in a boardroom and I just wanted to jump because nobody knew what was happening, how I was feeling. Therefore, nobody really cared or bothered, or I couldn't just get up and leave the room just to go and compose myself, But in situations where you're like, I just need air for yourself, that's a healthy environment, you incorporate it into yourself. And the fact that you don't need to hide the moments when you're feeling anxious. I do say when I'm feeling anxious, I'll be like, yo, I'm feeling quite anxious, like I need a few minutes. But if you don't have that environment that caters and accommodates that, and because you need to sort of keep it to yourself, and you die in that moment. You see your soul leaving your body in that moment because you can't find an escape, because nobody knows. So nobody's going to understand when you jump out of your seat to just go breathe. Create an environment that you yourself, you're like, I can live openly with my mental illness. And when I say I'm very anxious, they just so need to understand that I'm feeling a hella anxious. Okay, so it's just for your sake to not wake up and dreading going to work because nobody knows what you're going through, and you're just scared that I might have an episode at work, but I cannot tell anyone. You need to have an episode at work, and it's an open environment for you to have that episode. To get it? Cool. And then number three, when you disclose, you allow yourself access to company resources. What do I mean by this? I think when we start jobs, I often get a sense that we don't get the full picture in terms of what resources are there for people that suffer from mental illness, right? You just get told that, oh, you can call this number if you're feeling anxious. That's what we're told, right? But there's so much more resources. There's wellness events, there's well-being professionals within different companies that can actually assist. There's a whole range of resources, but they don't offer that information up front because mental illness is very sensitive. So they don't provide that information up front as to this is what the company can offer you and things. You just get told you can call this number and. But there's a whole resources that you can tap into. I know with my current employer, there's a whole lot of services that I can tap into, resources that can actually help me, wellness treats, wellness retreats, wellness conversations, things like that, guys. Like, they are there, but you just need to say and then ask what other resources are there besides the number and tap into those. And I think this is very important, guys, because of late, our companies that we work for, they're outsourcing mental health. And I actually think it needs to be a company thing. It doesn't need to be outsourced. But because they feel like, okay, when people are in the state, they can just call that number. Our numbers show that we don't have a lot of people that suffer from, then they're not building and developing new ways to help their employees inside the building. I will do a whole video about this. But the minute we talk, I think we put a little bit of pressure on companies to take it seriously and to actually not outsource it. I don't think when I'm in a state of panic, I want to be picking up a call to talk to someone who doesn't even know my day-to-day life. I want a person inside the building who lives the same values and the things that I do to speak to me. Someone who understands the culture of the business that I'm working for, not someone who's out there who doesn't understand and will just give me theory that's written in a textbook. Do you get it? So It's very important, guys, because we need to put the pressure on companies to not outsource this and actually start developing and creating ways to accommodate it in-house. Okay. Number 4, it's also for your employer to understand what you need, right? I'm gonna make an example. For one, I don't like being pressured, and that's not the management style that I like. I don't like being micromanaged. I don't like being pressured. Give me sufficient time, set expectation so that I can work at my own pace to deliver. But if I don't tell you that I don't like that style, it makes me flustered and anxious. You're gonna do it because you don't know, right? I always say, just as much as you need your employer, they need you. It's a two-way. It's a two-way relationship. It needs to be. If I can deliver, just set expectations well before time so that I never find myself in a space of being under pressure to deliver and then start flustering my own anxiety. So I guess by telling them, you sort of make them understand as well what works for you, what doesn't work. We need each other. Okay. And then number 5, you raise awareness. Guys, I just said at the beginning of this video that the stigma sometimes is coming from a lack of understanding, from a lack of not having the information. And if we don't talk, that person with no information remains with no information. However, when we start talking, they start asking questions, they start taking it more seriously, they start relating, and they start learning. And we remove a bit of the stigma. Right? And then you get those ones that have the information that decide to just be arrogant until it happens to them. I don't know what's the hope for them. But anyways, let's give these ones that don't have the information. Let's be open and transparent. Let's answer their questions, so that we remove a layer, we raise awareness, and we say, we're here, we live amongst you guys. Okay, and the last thing is you offer yourself a fighting chance. This is so important. Part of healing, guys, is being transparent. Part of healing is being open. By talking and acknowledging how you feel, you offer yourself so much fighting chance. You take back the power that this thing has taken from you. You resume control of your life. In a sort of funny way, but I feel as though when we move away from the point of comfort and we say, this has been happening to me, you take back control. You take back the power. You're saying, I acknowledge that you are here and I'm going to walk a journey of healing so that one day I wake up and you are not here. So the more you tell people, I feel as though the more you're shedding some of the weight. The weight of sitting there and people looking at you and you're like, they know. Whereas you didn't tell them. Your mind starts playing tricks on your head. But if you tell them, you choose how to narrate the story, you choose what control you give people, you tell your story your way and nobody tells it for you. You tell your truth, you narrate your own journey, you determine how much they need to know, and you determine how much control you feel as though they're entitled to. Although I think nobody's entitled to my well-being and how I function or navigate with my mental illness. And nobody has a say in what they think I should be doing. I curb opinions very quickly, guys. But anyways, that is what the video is about today. Just very important, you need to disclose at your own time when you're good and well. There is no obligation in South Africa for you to disclose. There's no law that says you need to disclose it. You need to disclose when you're ready to receive resources that come with it, as well as the stigma that comes with it. So I hope this video will sort of make you think a little bit, in terms of your journey to disclosure, and what measures have to be in place before you can actually disclose. So I hope you'll enjoy this video, and it feels good to be back. I definitely will try to be more consistent. I definitely will try to be more consistent, but this time I wasn't consistent because I was sick, guys. So I have a valid reason. And yeah, as you can see, I am shooting in a very different location. That is because it is so cold in Cape Town and everybody's in the rooms, and this is the only space where I could shoot. So I hope you guys will have a beautiful weekend. Stay warm, stay blessed, and do take care of yourself. Bye. And please don't forget to watch the Panda video, download the app, and do the right thing. Bye.